Subscribe and press the bell icon. Hey guys, what's up? हम लोग वापस आ गए द स्ट्रेंथ मॉबकास्ट पे। आज के हमारे नए गेस्ट होस्ट है रचित बीरा। सो रचित बीरा, कैन यू इंट्रोड्यूस योरसेल्फ टू आवर ऑडियंसेस?
Sure, sure, yes. First of all, it's my absolute pleasure to be on your show, on your podcast. And it is not actually Rachit Bira, it is Rachit Beer, but my pet name is Bira. So that is how Bira Fitness ka naam aaya. And yeah, I run a company called Bira Fitness. It's a coaching company, and I've coached around 120 odd clients till now, including doctors, athletes, even powerlifters. Uh, recreational lifters too. And I also, on top of that, I also mentor a bunch of athletes to, just become better at coaching and lifting in general. So yeah, that's what I do. I love coaching. It's like, just we were talking about the purpose of life. I think it gives me that fulfillment. It gives me that purpose to live in this life, and just to live a meaningful life. And yes, this is what I find to be a purpose of my life. So yeah, I noticed a damaging pattern in the industry where fitness was not taken a wholesome approach. That's where I came out with the SMART protocol, which is an integral part of my coaching services too. So SMART protocol is socially active, mentally fit, adjustable, realistic and retrospective, thoughtful. So all of this critical thinking aspect, mental health, socially active. So a wholesome approach of health. And yeah, apart from that, I'm deeply interested in hypertrophy, all the sciences behind it, nutrition sciences, stress management, recovery aspects, and mental health and pain science too. Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of modern pain science. It excites me a lot, and that's where I take a lot of rehab clients too. Because even if I want them to go to physiotherapists, I don't recommend them just because it's damaged. The condition of manual therapy in India is damaged. Apart from that, yeah, I am very much interested in self-awareness and just self-improvement, becoming a better human every day, and at the same time becoming a better coach every day. Apart from that, we run a YouTube channel. Siddharth and I run a YouTube channel called Indian Professors, and I've also come up with my YouTube channel, which is PiraFit. Uh, that's probably it. I would not call myself as a YouTuber, but I just keep experimenting with my content stuff. And as long as I am honest to my ethics and morals, I won't be doing something else like lose fat in 7 days or all of that stuff. Yeah, getting better each and every day. I invest a large part of my earnings, even if the earnings are very less. I invest a large part of them in my education, in continuing education. So the day I feel that I let go of my imposter syndrome, I let go of कि यार मैंने ठीक ठाक सीख ली है. I think I'll definitely start to mentor other coaches and educate other coaches. Yeah, and yeah, powerlifting sucks, guys.
ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, powerlifting is the best. I love it.
Definitely, man, definitely.
So
अनिकेत का सुनना
रचित,
नहीं, क्योंकि अनिकेत के लेटेस्ट वीडियो में अनिकेत ने बोला जॉब छोड़ दो, बेस्ट चीज है. सो अभी मैं अनिकेत से कोई एडवाइस नहीं लेने वाला.
एक्चुअली रचित ने भी वही सेम चीज किया है, इसने जॉब छोड़ दिया, नहीं करना जॉब.
Yeah, I just left my job. I just quit my job. So yeah, let's see. जैसे ही मैंने जॉब छोड़ी, the irony is that fucking जिस दिन मैंने जॉब छोड़ी उसके next week से लॉकडाउन हो गया, and I was left with no fucking income. So yeah, that's pretty frustrating. But at the end, I think it was necessary. अगर ये part मैंने अभी देख ली है, हमने अभी देख लिया ये part, तो I think in coming future it would be really easy for us to sustain. Just because there will be a huge influx of people coming into fitness, and that's where it will be monetary benefits too.
So रचित, can you tell us about your training philosophy? मतलब आपका माइंडसेट क्या होता है ट्रेनिंग के पीछे, कैसा आप अप्रोच करते हो ट्रेनिंग को?
Yeah, right. I think that's a great question. It's a question. To be very honest, I don't have a training philosophy. I would be really I would be really adamant about it if I say that I have a training philosophy, but I don't have it. Just because I don't want to sound like a guru. Because if you have a rigid training philosophy, you act like a guru, and that's where the guru culture comes into picture. And that's where I am pretty much interested and pretty much link myself as evidence-based coach, because yes, evidence-based fitness in India is having a bad repo. But at the same point of time, evidence-based fitness is not what is understood in common sense. It is not like that. It is understanding research, and you don't have to be particularly adept in reading research. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको research पढ़नी आनी चाहिए. You just have to comprehend it well. You just have to digest it and then pass on to your clients. That is the first part. Then you have to have your own success, your own anecdotes. All of that also comes into picture. And then the main part is clients. How do you customize your approach with the clients? And that's where I will come on to your training philosophy question. I don't have a particular training philosophy. It only goes by with my personal experience, with what client wants, and then obviously the best evidence where by which I can start off something and कुछ averages से start कर सकते हैं. So I don't have a training philosophy, to be very honest.
Okay. मतलब ये एक लोगों का माइंडसेट होता है कि भाई कुछ ट्रेनिंग फिलोसफी होना चाहिए उसका. लोगों के पास ये नहीं होता कि भाई साइंस रोज चेंज होता रहता है. साइंस इज नेवर द सेम एवरी डे. Am I right?
Exactly. Science is ever changing. Science is never black and white. There will be some study और जिससे अपने को change करना पड़ेगा. So it's ever evolving. That is why we can't have a bias. It's because if we have a set training philosophy, we will be in a bias. Just for say, there are a lot of people who like high volume training, who like burn in their muscles. Okay? And there are a lot of people who like high intensity training. That means low volume and high intensity training. I would say there is it lies in a spectrum. You should always be unbiased of these approaches because science can change anytime. And if you obviously you should be aware about your biases and you should minimize your weaknesses. At the same time, just be aware with the science, just be aware about your client, and don't follow any kind of programming or periodization technique every time.
ये अच्छा पॉइंट लगा एक्चुअली मुझे, क्योंकि बहुत लोग एक सिस्टम में स्टक हो जाते हैं ना, उससे बाहर निकलना बहुत डिफिकल्ट होता है वो लोग के लिए एट द एंड.
Right. Because yeah. So with the powerlifters, what I see is if a powerlifter trains a bodybuilder, even if the bodybuilder doesn't like to do squats, even if the bodybuilder doesn't want to do bench presses, they will still program SBD for them because it's their bias in the end, and they think that low intensity or probably this SPD or the main compound movements, the three main compound movements are the way to go. But it is not like that. We have to respect the structural mobility. We have to respect the CNS mobility, all of the injuries, all of that stuff, and what the client wants in the end. Because if you talk about recreational lifters, enjoyment and adherence is a lot important, and more important than we even think. Even if we read all the science, even if we read all the researches, if we don't know how to coach, if we don't know how to make a client adhere and enjoy the program, we are failing big time.
ये एक्चुअली अच्छा पॉइंट लगता है मुझे कि अडहेरेंस इज द की. डिसिप्लिन ये आप में अगर बिल्कुल नहीं होगा तो आप लॉन्ग टर्म सस्टेन नहीं कर पाओगे बिल्कुल भी. इट्स लाइक अगर आप एक दिन मतलब एक हफ्ता कुछ दूसरा प्रोग्राम यूज़ कर रहे हो, सेकेंड वीक में नया प्रोग्राम यूज़ कर रहे हो, तो उसमें मतलब भी बनता नहीं है. कोई भी आप प्रोग्राम यूज़ कर रहे हो तो उसको टाइम दीजिए. अगर कुछ में उसमें प्रोग्राम में अच्छा चीज़ होगा वो समझ आएगा ओवर द टाइम ऑफ पीरियड.
Right. Program hopping is something which my athletes used to struggle with a lot. And especially, I talked about this in my stories also on Instagram, that since there's a lot of novel stimulus all around on Instagram, कि कोई भी नया coach आ रहा है, he comes up with his training philosophy, कोई भी नई बंदी आ रही है, she comes up with her training philosophy. And then you get stuck because there's a novel stimulus, and novel stimulus is always good because it gives you immediate gratification. आपको लगता है कि यार ये करता हूँ मैं इससे अब शायद grow करूँगा, ये करता हूँ शायद इससे fat loss होगा. Now the disturbing part is, even if you apply those things in every month, first of all, you won't be able to measure what is going on because all the variables change. Whenever you change the program, even if you change the rep range, a lot of variables change. And when you change the program altogether, सब कुछ change हो जाएगा. Then you have to start all together. Probably it can happen that you will gain some weight because all of the new movements. You will get a lot of soreness. You won't be able to progress. And फिर आपको लगेगा यार कि मैं progress नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ. Weight मैंने increase कर लिया, क्या चल रहा है? And that's where you will lose motivation. So I know it will play a very important part if you change exercises. Probably isolation exercises in each and every mesocycle, but compounds should be the same. I think the movement pattern should be the same throughout.
वेदांत तेरा इसके ऊपर क्या टेक है?
या सो जो रचित ने पॉइंट बोला पावर लिफ्टर्स ट्रेनिंग बॉडी बिल्डर्स, उसमें सही कहा था कि जो पावर लिफ्टर्स बायस रखते हैं एसबीडी के के लिए, वो आई थिंक इट होल्ड्स ट्रू टू सम एक्सटेंट. बट आई थिंक एज अ कोच फर्स्ट यू हैव टू एनालाइज व्हाट योर एथलीट्स और क्लाइंट्स प्रायोरिटी इज एंड देन वर्क टुवर्ड्स इट. if your client's priority is only building muscle, then you can even go for not even the SBD, but the muscles which correlate better to the training and growing that muscle and exercises which have a small SRA curve.
Right. Definitely. And that's where we talk about SFR, stimulus to fatigue ratio. We talk about movements which suit better. We talk about movements whose strength curve matches with the resistance curves. तो ये सब चीजें तब आ सकती हैं. बट अगेन वी हैव टू टॉक टू द क्लाइंट कि क्या आप एंजॉय कर रहे हो इस चीज को, क्या आपको स्क्वाट्स कंटिन्यू करना है, क्या आपको मजा आ रहा है इसमें. अगर वो बोल रहा है कि नहीं मुझे स्क्वाट्स कंटिन्यू करना है, आई विल इवन प्रोग्राम स्क्वाट्स एंड डेडलिफ्ट्स इन द पीक वीक ऑफ दैट गाय, क्योंकि उसे करना है, उसे किक मिलता है. एंड अगर वो नहीं करेगा तो उसको उसकी adherence lose हो जाएगी, enjoyment lose कर देगा. I will even program that, but I just make it clear कि if you want to do it, we will do it definitely, and I would definitely base the program. अगर वो बोल रहा है कि मैं करूँगा, मुझे चलता है, it's a moderate approach, मुझे चलता है सब कुछ, I will definitely program squats, bench and deadlift in this program.
Yeah, and I think introducing novel exercises in your client's program can be a very weird thing for them as well, and they can be very prejudiced in context to that, because they will be thinking कि भाई इसने ये सब नया क्यों डाल दिया, ठीक है. And sometimes it can be difficult for them to even get used to that exercise. That's why and I think it can be true to some extent in their nutrition as well, because rather than giving them a completely new diet, you can make changes in the current one and adjust their calories and macros. And when we talk about training, I think we can work closely to the exercises that they're doing right now and make some changes in the volume or intensity that they are doing, or even the rep schemes. But introducing new exercise altogether could be a difficult thing for them to even understand and adapt to.
Yeah, especially when the learning curve is really, really big. So if you introduce a new compound movement, the learning curve would be really big, especially for people who haven't trained that exercise. For say, good mornings की बात करते हैं. I mean, किसी ने अगर RDLs भी बहुत कम किए हैं, so अगर good mornings उसको program कर दिया मैंने शुरू में, obviously it is a big learning curve. It took me a lot of time to get hold of good mornings myself. But if we talk about exercises which have a small learning curve like isolations, I think we can change them regularly, क्योंकि adaptive resistance की बात भी आ जाती है and clients get bored easily because you can't see a lot of performance increases in that, and sometimes intensity increase or load increase is a huge motivator for them. So if we change the exercises, probably that can help them.
Yeah, so like since your training is mostly focused towards hypertrophy, how do you make changes in the client's program? Like, do you manipulate volume or intensity or exercise selection?
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer of the thought that you only fix the things which are broken. Otherwise, I don't. But the major thing comes when people plateau, when the clients plateau, and that's where the coaching comes into picture. And that's where I really want to talk about progressive overload. I really want to talk about how hypertrophy works. In the end, progressive overload, which is understood by us, is not actually right. Progressive overload is not that you have to increase weight or you have to increase repetitions in each and every workout. It is not the requirement. All right. It is something which happens because you did something really good in the last session. So progressive overload is, I would say, it's an increase in the capacity of the strength. It's an increase in the capacity of performance, which happens just because you are doing things well, and it's a result basically. It's not a requirement. You don't have to force progressive overload, but it is a result. So if you are doing all the things correctly, since in the previous sessions, I think you will definitely experience an increase in performance, and that's where you will be able to do another extra rep, or you'll be able to add load to the bar. Does it matter for clients? I would say no. They still would have the mentality कि हमें yes weight increase करना है. But for coaches, it is extremely important to have this knowledge, just because you have to have the understanding that even if they are not overloading, even if they are not adding reps and weight every session, they are still progressing. They are still eliciting that physiological adaptation required for hypertrophy. They are still reaching that threshold. ऐसा नहीं है कि हमेशा कि overload नहीं हो पा रहा तो वो hypertrophy नहीं हो रही है. ऐसा नहीं होता. Every session will not measure the rate of performance increase which you have adapted to. So जितने भी capacity to perform increase हुआ है, probably it could be a case that सिर्फ half rep का increase हुआ है, half rep का performance increase हुआ है, and if you are trying to do that another extra rep, you are not able to measure that. So that doesn't mean that कि उसमें adaptation नहीं हुआ है. That doesn't mean that हमने elicit नहीं किया है. But at the same point of time, the next session could be a session where we can measure that progressive overload. We can measure that rep. Now, when coming to your question, it was कि आप क्या training कर, like what do you change when it comes to hypertrophy? So when people plateau, first of all, I just take a history of, obviously, it becomes very much important to have data around it, because if you don't have data, if you don't have their sleep data, if you don't have their hydration data, the steps, the carbohydrates intake, the calories intake, the stress, all of that stuff, if you don't have that, then probably it will be very, very difficult to make decisions at that point of time, because it could be a point that it's a very high stress week for them. It could be a point that their hydration is not on point. It could be a point that their calories were low that week. A lot of external stresses can come into picture. It could be a point that they played a lot of sport that week. They introduced a new sport that week. A lot of things can be there. So it becomes really important to have a lot of data while deciding all of this. I generally give around 7-day extra buffer. I mean, I give them a 7-day extra buffer to make everything on point. कि अपना nutrition सही कर लो, अपना stress सही कर लो, अपना sleep सही कर लो, अपना hydration सही कर लो. उसके बाद if we see that we are not progressing, the lifts are not going up, or we are not progressing in repetitions, कुछ भी progressive overload नहीं हो रहा है, then probably I can add some repetitions to see that जो वो capacity of performance increase हुआ है नहीं हुआ. अगर वो उसमें repetition में you can get that caught in that extra repetition, or you can measure that in the extra repetition, all good. And even if that doesn't happen, we can slowly introduce volume. We can slowly introduce a set or two every week. I mean, from the next week. So that's how I do changes.
So is it the way like you determine which progression scheme to use, whether single progression or double progression?
Yeah. So, So what I've found in my coaching career till now is a lot of people are stressed. Okay? And there are a lot of there are some athletes who demand to do triple progression. कि मेरे को weights में increase करना है, sets में increase करना है, repetition में increase करना है, या फिर मेरे को Mike is right वाला follow करना है कि हर week मेरे को MEV से MRV पे लेके जाना है. But they don't know कि that requires a lot of cost from you. That requires a lot of time cost. I mean the training time cost from you, a lot of fatigue, and they think कि ज़्यादा volume करने से क्या होगा कि मेरे को ज़्यादा growth मिलेगी. But it is not like that. You will only increase your work capacity. So you will only increase your ability to do more sets, but you will not increase your hypertrophy response. Obviously, there can be some specialization cycles where you load on the volume or you get the volume down on another body parts, and that's where you can up the volume for a particular body part which you are trying to grow. But on the other side, the mic is right ka hai. I'm not a very big proponent of that. Obviously, it has a lot of applications. कि अगर work capacity increase करना है या फिर if you really want to, if you spend a lot of time in the gym, definitely you can give it a go. But if you have a lot of stresses, what happens if so let's take a point कि for say first week में हम सिर्फ 10 सेट कर रहे हैं and last week में हम around 18 सेट्स कर रहे हैं, ठीक है? तो first week में 10 सेट्स जब आप कर रहे हो, when 10 sets are programmed, probably your stress is super low that week and you can perform a lot of work that week. And you are just able to perform 10 sets with an RIR of 4 or 3. And what happens if your stress is super high in the 4th or 5th week and you have to do 18 sets in that week? What will happen in that? You will eventually overreach really soon, or you will eventually injure yourself. You will accumulate a lot of fatigue. जो रिकवरी पहले ही लो है, you will additionally accumulate a lot of fatigue क्योंकि आपको प्रोग्राम के साथ जाना है. You have to do 18 sets. बिल्कुल करने ही है आपको, and that will add a lot of fatigue. So in real world, I don't think that works. It only works with people who are made for training, who spend their time in the gym a lot. I mean, if you compare 10 sets in the first week, you will be able to spend around 1 hour in the gym or 1.5 hours in the gym. But if you have to do 20 or 18 sets in the last week, you will fucking have to spend around 2.5 hours or 2 hours in the gym. That is a lot of time cost, which people don't understand. बस कि मेरे को माइक इज राइट जैसा करना है, इसमें वो करना है, मेरे को स्टीव हॉल जैसा करना है, मेरे को करना है. But they don't understand that there are a lot of stresses in their life. They don't understand that nutrition is not on point. Their sleep is not on point. इसलिए I prefer a lot of double dynamic progression where I progress their load and repetitions. I make them understand कि हम दोनों में repetitions, हम load और repetition दोनों combo increase कर सकते हैं. कभी हम load को increase कर सकते हैं. अब जब for say we have a target repetitions of 12. When we reach 12 repetitions with a certain RP or RIR, then we can increase load. And this is we can definitely increase load in each and every week in compound movements sometimes. But in isolation movement, it becomes very difficult to increase load just because it's a small, it's a small body part and the force capability is too low. So that's where I recommend them double progression scheme, and it could be linear progression in in the compound movements. So it depends. It depends on a lot of points. I have definitely programmed triple progression for some clients who are made for training, who love training in and out, who are just like machines. Key input do, output low, input do, output low. Their sleep is on point, their nutrition is on point. They are some dedicated clients. But apart from that, a lot of beginners are on linear progression. And usse pehle jo bhi beginners hote hain, I don't take them. But intermediates are mostly who are stressed out or who go to office, who have a very, not definite sleeping routine. I program them. I basically recommend them to have double dynamic progression scheme.
And what do you think about the people who are training in this lockdown who don't have access to too much weight? Like they can work up to one weight, their gym or home gym or the dumbbells they have, but they can't go up. So do you think they could bump up the volume in each week?
Yeah, that's where we were talking. Aniket and I were talking before you came and before we were recording. To be very honest, जब 21 दिन का लॉकडाउन था, I made a video the next day कि यार 21 दिन का लॉकडाउन हुआ है, we will get through this, we will get through these 4 weeks or 3 weeks by a fluke. कुछ नहीं होगा. क्या करना है आपको, थोड़ा सा बस रेपिटेशन इंक्रीज करना है, टेम्पो आपको वो करना है, थोड़ा बढ़ाना है, आपको फेलियर के पास जाना है, आपको ये करना है, वो करना है. You know what? When we are used to, or when we are habitual of working with a lot of weights, when we are habitual of a lot of load, especially on the leg exercises or big muscle groups, you won't be able to sustain that. You won't be able to sustain those light 50, 70, 100 repetitions on your hip hinge movements, your squats. At least I can't. I hate high repetition training. But at the same point of time, some people love it. Some people love bodyweight exercises, and that's where two things. Abhi, I would come back to your question. Two things. Self-acceptance is the key. You know that it could be a possibility that you will be able to lose muscle, some kind of muscle. It's fine, but you can also target other training goals like endurance, or you can play a sport. You can probably do some body weight stuff. You can become better at pull-ups. You can become better at push-ups, all of that stuff. And for people who are crazy in retaining their muscle, what I've done is, since they are at home throughout, I have programmed 13 sessions or 14 sessions a week for them. So AM, PM sessions. So basically we lose motivation, right? Even if I lost a lot of motivation in between, but ab sahi hai, bahut sahi hai. What I did for them in terms of programming is, and I came up with this idea, which was welcomed with both hands in my clients. I programmed 2 sessions for them a day, and two very short sessions. By very short, what I mean is just a 15-minute or 20-minute session. So what I tell them is, at 10 a.m. in the morning, you have to have this session. चाहे कुछ भी कर रहे हो आप, चाहे आप कुछ भी कर रहे हो, you have to get up at 10 a.m. You have to do this session, and the only motive of that session is 2 failure reps, 2 balls to failure reps. I mean, ऐसे reps होने चाहिए that even if you reach technical failure, you can still go on, you can still do partials without breaking any form. And that's where this becomes very motivating for them. उनको लग रहा है कि यार सिर्फ इस वर्कआउट में मेरे को 2 सेट्स ऐसे लेके जाने हैं कि मेरे my balls come out. ठीक है? So they are very much able to adhere with it. So what I do is I basically have programmed in a way that कि आपको सुबह biceps करना है और रात को आपको legs से कुछ set करना है, तो आपको legs में 2 set में failure पे जाना है. So that actually encourages them to work out because they're looking forward to it. Otherwise, it's very, very easy to lose motivation this lockdown. So yeah, that's how they're retaining muscle, and that's how I am retaining muscle.
Yeah, and I think training close to the failure or muscles that give on exercises that give you pump is very exciting for everyone.
Right. Because pump is like orgasm, as Arnold says, it's like orgasm.
Don't
I don't know what he
misquote
meant by that. You know what? To be very honest, I have never ever read Arnold's book. Or I've never ever, I never. And to be very honest, Arnold doesn't excite me a lot. I don't know why. I mean, not physically. I mean, but he doesn't give me any kind of motivation. To be very honest, अब लोग बोले कि do you even lift, bro? Do you even ये? Fuck you guys. I mean, he doesn't. So it's fine. There are a lot of smart people who give me a lot of motivation, like Eric Helms, even Steve Hall, even Mike Israetel is one hell of a guy. Then you have Brian Mena, or you have Jacob Scapis. That guy is a legend, man. All of these guys are bulls. All of these guys have great physiques. Oh, Jeff Alberts. Then you have Nunes. All of these guys, they're amazing. Arnold doesn't give me that pump. I don't know why. I'm sorry, guys.
So, like, do you look up to any classic physique guys from the golden era or someone? Like, I'm very attracted towards the Frank Zane kind of physique because it was, to be honest, when I started out, it was very achievable in my opinion, and his frame was similar to mine as well. So it was something I could look up to achieve the same physique.
Yeah. I totally get what you're coming from, Vedant. शुरू में मेरे भी बहुत models थे कि यार ऐसा बनना है, ऐसा करना है. I still remember when you go to pharmacy shops, you have some capsules over there, and उसके ऊपर body builders बने होते हैं. तो मैंने कहा यार छी ये क्या कर रहे हैं यार. मेरी मम्मी बोलती छी ये मत ले लियो कभी भी, ऐसा मत करियो कुछ. But यार, I mean, with building big muscles, with building muscles which you are, with building biceps which are bigger than your head, it gives you a false sense of security, right? तुम्हें लगता है कि यार dominant बन जाएगा, तू लड़कियां पटा लेगा, तू ये कर लेगा, तू वो कर लेगा. It's about masochism, right? But when I realized that it doesn't happen, it doesn't give you any kind of girls, it doesn't give you any kind of dominance, it doesn't actually make you go up in the dominance hierarchy. Then I realized कि नहीं, इसके अलावा भी बहुत life है. But training played a very important part in my life, man. I mean, if we talk about mental health, if we talk about therapeutic reasons, it's an hour where it's meditation for me, to be very honest. People say that meditation क्या होता है, क्या नहीं होता है. It's basically when you are just concentrated on one thing. And that's where training comes into picture, man. That's where I don't think about anything else. My phone is on D&D mode. I just log in my phone. I just use the Gravitas app for logging, and apart from that, it is very therapeutic for me. But yeah, coming back to your question, I think I digressed. Coming back to your question, I think yes, Frank Zane, obviously, dude. These were my idols in the start, but after that, I came to know the hard reality of bodybuilding. That how genetics, how steroids, how PEDs, and how much hard work these guys did. I mean, these guys. I
Mhm.
mean, their life was bodybuilding. That's it. सुबह से शाम तक bodybuilding. We are not like that, especially people who are into full-time jobs. So self-acceptance is the key. That is what I always say. You can get inspired by them, but again, don't compare yourself with them just because you are comparing apples with not oranges. You're comparing apples
Orange.
with grapes. I mean,
No
it's
pun intended.
that capacity. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just lies on the different spectrum. ये आप एकदम extreme पे हो यार. मतलब उनके पास हर चीज है. They have genetics. They have PEDs. They have obviously they are very hardworking. They have a lot of coaches with them. They have everything towards bodybuilding, and you fucking don't even sleep for 6 hours a day, man. What are you even thinking about? So it's a hard reality.
Yeah, and I
Actually,
believe
Vedant,
I can correct you on the part where you said that they bodybuilding was their only life. If I'm not wrong, those guys were working some side job as well, unlike the bodybuilders today who have many,
Yeah.
sponsorship and stuff. But
Hmm.
Frank Zane, and I'm not defending those guys, but I'm just stating my point.
Yeah,
So I
I know,
believe
man.
Frank Zane was a teacher, maths teacher or something. Arnold and Colombo used to work at construction
Hmm.
sites and all that stuff.
Yeah. You're right. Even I'm not sure about it. I have just heard that even Ronnie Coleman was had a full-time job in a police, or
Police, yeah.
it was a rumor. Yeah, right. पता नहीं मुझे. But yeah, I've heard that. I've seen his pictures.
0.33% body fat, man.
Yeah,
Impeccable.
dude.
minus
Insane.
0.33.
Insane. Yeah. Again, if we dive into a lot of psychology and philosophy about bodybuilding, it's not a healthy sport in the end, to be very honest. I mean, I'll just share my anecdote. Last time, अभी December की time है, December का हाँ, we had a shoot planned in in Bangalore. We were going to shoot technique-based videos, and we had a really good shoot planned in Bangalore in February. I started my cut in December. I had to go to Goa for around 10-15 days, and I knew कि मैं उस टाइम पे कुछ नहीं कर पाऊंगा, तो मैंने एक बहुत ही फास्ट कट प्लान किया था उस टाइम पे, and it was even it was aggressive than a mini cut. Mini cut में you go at around 1,000 calorie deficit or 1,200 calorie deficit. It was fucking 1,500 or 1,700 calorie deficit, and you know what? Goa तक ठीक था. I was fine. I lost a lot of weight. I was even updating my Instagram every day, every night. कि आज ये हुआ. After I came back to Goa, I started it again. To be very honest, after 30 days of prolonged deficit, I felt super bad. I mean, my mood was super low. My sleep disturbed थी. My libido was zero, man. Zero. I mean, it was zero. I was lost. और मेरे को इतना बुरा लग रहा था. Pumps were gone. And that's where I realized कि यार, is it even worth it? Is it even worth starving yourself? Is it even worth starving yourself for a photo shoot? Because अगर मेरे पास टाइम होता 6-7 महीने का, I would have gone on a slow cut. But that's where tricky thing comes when you talk about mini cut, when you talk about aggressive cuts, when you talk about protein sparing diets. They're horrible, man. I mean, they're good on papers, but if you're not that much dedicated, if you don't have that much willpower, I don't think that you will be able to sustain that. I sustained that because I had that willpower, but I felt like shit in the end. I'm saying that on camera. I felt like shit. My sex drive was zero. And yeah, man, that's where bodybuilding is not a healthy sport, which is what I
Just
believe.
switch to
And
powerlifting, man.
I'm a weak bodybuilder, dude. I can't powerlift at all. I don't think I'll be the weakest powerlifter in the world, I guess.
I
Powerlifting
think
is
it's only
not.
because you haven't trained for it specifically.
Yeah. I haven't.
Just
And I'm planning
try
to.
the sports.
To be very honest, I'm planning to, just because we are setting up a home gym right now, and I think I'll be doing some power building work now. I'll be dedicating more time to SBD. Yeah, let's see how it goes. Because I'm all about self experimentation. Because self experimentation again is a very big part in coaching. You have to experiment. I also think of going on keto, to be very honest, guys. I also think of going on keto. एक बार intermittent fasting पे भी जाना है मेरे को. I want to do everything just because I want
I
to
think this is a
become
good
a
point
better
to end the
coach.
podcast. We can't talk about
Really?
keto. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry to
I
cut
know,
you.
guys. I had a great time, and thank you so much.
Rachit
But
Bira
yeah,
is going to a different tangent. Keto की बात कर रहे हैं, K11
yes,
science.
yes. I mean, I have no problem with that. Just because I'm unbiased, guys, I can do keto, I can do anything. But to be very honest, I am all about self-experimentation. When you talk about evidence-based fitness, and if you talk about coaching clients, you should experiment with yourself at least. And I don't think of recommending any supplement to any client without experimenting on myself, because I recommend a lot of excellent supplementation on joint support, but because I know that I have experienced them and I know that there's a lot of research backed with them. So that is why I'm trying to experiment with a lot of supplementation, and I'm trying to experiment with a lot of diets. Probably keto is one of them. It is on cards. I'll make a YouTube video on it too. Intermittent fasting is on cards. Low carb dieting is also on cards. Yeah, pretty much it. That's pretty much
Yeah,
it.
I really agree with the part where you said we should first experiment with ourselves before stating any point, because as powerlifters we are very, very ready to dismiss the fact that keto won't work for you, because carbs is the primary source of energy for you, and as powerlifter, in order to enhance your performance, you need more carbs in your system than the ketones, which will be becoming a source of your energy. But I think it's really, it's good to experiment with yourself and see whether it really works before just dismissing it altogether.
Definitely a great point, man, Vedant. And regarding that, I would like to tell you that even Menno is a huge proponent of low carb diets for powerlifters. He actually says that you should go on a high fat diet and a keto diet for powerlifters, just because. I mean, even he's also conducting a study on that. I think it will be out soon. The results will be out soon. कि वो powerlifters के लिए keto promote करता है. And his rationale is that since powerlifting is a low intensity, I mean, obviously you burn fat more over there, right? Because as you increase your rep ranges, your carbs, the substrate of carbs starts burning more. I mean, the substrate carbohydrates is used more, and low intensity workouts, or even when I'm just fidgeting right now and I'm just moving right now, I'm burning fats more. And that's where his rationale is that it's not a glycogen demanding exercise routine, the powerlifting. I mean, it's not a glycogen demanding routine. And I don't agree with them on with practical sense, क्योंकि मेरे को लगता है obviously you don't, if you don't have carbs in your system, I don't think you will be able to perform well. But he has his rationale, he has his theory behind it, and let's see what results come in the study.
Yeah, and apart from the just fat loss point of things or even performance, there was a study that I read just today that to some extent a ketogenic diet also increases the number of mitochondria, or the energy factories in brain cells. I'm literally reading the thing. I'm sorry, what do you say, the study or something. And to some extent it could even improve the brain capacity as well.
Yeah, yeah, I've read a lot about keto diet being good in some conditions, some medical conditions. And even one of my clients, you know what, I'll share an incident today. Abhi thode din pehle, I put a client on a flexible dieting program. You know what? He didn't adhere to it. He didn't adhere to it at all. And you know what? He came up to me that, sir, I'm doing keto now. And all good for you, dude. If you want to do keto, I'm all in for you. You know what? He is on keto right now and he's adhering to it. वो बोल रहा है कि my energy levels are super high. I don't know if it's placebo or what, but you know what? That's where I am telling you guys that I want to experiment with it. बहुत लोग बोलते हैं that their cognitive performance is increased, their energy levels are through the roof. I really want to experiment that.
Yeah. And coming back to a point that you mentioned beforehand, as you said, anxiety could be even after, if you think that your biceps are bigger than your arms, or even you are aesthetic and swole. But I believe we all start training or for powerlifting or strengthening or just exercise in general to overcome our anxiety in some level. For example, I was a skinny kid and I started because I wanted to, didn't want to get bullied. Aniket started because he was, very overweight. So there could be different school of thoughts or sources of motivation. But I believe that even when you get that, achieve that physique or get that strength or win that competition, some kind of anxiety or imposter syndrome will always be there with you.
Definitely, man. The same school of thought applies that even if we achieve a lot of money, we will still be greedy, right? And that's where your insecurity doesn't end at all. If I become like you guys, if I become like Aniket, I'll demand more muscle. I'll demand more lifts, numbers on my lifts, because insecurity never goes away. At the same time, you came up with a very good point, Vedant, and I really want to highlight that we start with an external motivation. We start with an extrinsic motivation. Ki yaar, some girl said that you have to look good in clothes, you have to have abs. Only then you can come to me and you can be at that level. Or some people say, यार कैसा दिख रहा है भाई, तू कुछ कर अपने आप को. And that's
Exactly.
what hits you hard, right? But it can serve as a great point for you guys to start, and then with time it can serve as an internal motivation. Now, for say, I start probably I wanted to look good in clothes, and that's why I started lifting. And then when I got to see results, now it's just about therapeutic session for me. I mean, now it's more about intrinsic motivation. So my motive as a coach would be to take the client from extrinsic motivation to intrinsic motivation, just because it works in long run. If I अभी मेरे को अगर train करना है, तो I'll feel good about myself, and that's where the intrinsic motivation is coming into. अभी मैं किसी और के लिए train नहीं कर रहा हूँ. अभी अगर मेरे को date पे जाना है, तो ये नहीं करूँगा कि मैं अपने pump कर लूँगा अपनी muscles को. That is extrinsic motivation. But if I mean, it's just therapeutic for me, and that's where intrinsic motivation comes into picture. So it can serve as a great start, external motivation, but with time we should, and it will definitely come into intrinsic motivation. It will develop into intrinsic motivation. That is what I think. Sorry.
Yeah, I really agree with you, because I think extrinsic motivation will, dissolve after some time, but intrinsic won't. And after reaching some point, you should only focus on bettering yourself from yesterday. And even if you have hit the pinnacle at a certain sport or at a certain level, there are always different endeavors that you can, try your hand in.
Yeah, that's where a lot of bodybuilders shift to powerlifting in their, after a good training age. Just because bodybuilding doesn't give them that drive. They want to see performance. They want to see immediate gratification. So that's where powerlifting comes into the picture, because you can measure your progress, right? You can measure. Muscle building is a fucking slow process, dude. I mean, especially for lifters who are genetically not strong. Either you can just measure muscle hypertrophy by biopsy or DEXA, or you can observe it after a long period of time. And that's where people can't accept a delayed gratification. People want immediate gratification. That's where powerlifting comes into picture. That's where you can see immediate results. कि अगर मैंने fatigue manage ऐसे कर लिया, ऐसे करके periodize करके manage कर लिया, तो मेरे numbers ऊपर जाएंगे. And that's where a lot of bodybuilders shift to powerlifting in their later part of the careers. That is actually fine. Whatever keeps them going, thumbs up.
Yeah, I believe in powerlifting you can see some immediate results, either if you are following a periodized program or you are a beginner. But because I recently read these studies, because I was researching about some periodization to post on my IG. So there was a study, I think it was a meta-analysis done on the Stronger by Science site. So it was a meta-analysis of many years of research. So they just compared trainees who trained with an periodized program versus a non-periodized program. So the people who trained with a periodized program or a systematic approach, they got stronger at least 20 to 30% more than the group of people who didn't follow a systematic approach.
It's understandable, man. Especially in powerlifting, because powerlifting is all. You know what? Powerlifting can follow a very structured program. I know you. I have read everything about powerlifting. I know how to program, but I don't do it because it's not in. I mean, it doesn't interest me a lot unless and until I don't, participate in powerlifting myself. I won't be taking any clients. But I know that periodization बहुत important है powerlifting के लिए, and it has to be followed for fatigue management, injuries, specificity, all of that stuff. But bodybuilding has that luxury. Bodybuilding provides you that flexibility that there are multiple pathways. And you know what? I came up with an analogy a few weeks ago. Bodybuilding is like a center point of the city. You can come to you can reach that with any path. And there is no specific path. Okay? But powerlifting lies in the corner of the city. You can go to that point via some pathways, some specific pathways. And that's where we can use the analogy of, that's where we can define specificity also. SIAD principle. That powerlifting is a lot more specific sport, which requires a lot of specific training. But bodybuilding, you have all the luxury. You have all the, flexibility to use any kind of pathway. You can use, कोई भी type की आप training use कर सकते हैं, as long as it is a high quality and high quantity training. That means it is of sufficient, intensity, absolute or relative, and it is of a particular volume. So yes, कुछ भी training methodology use करो, आपको बहुत ही ज़्यादा flexibility है आपको bodybuilding में. That's where bodybuilding doesn't require you to perform SBD. Yeah.
That was a fucking great point, man. I never thought of it, to be honest. And it was
Thank
really
you
great.
so much, bro. Thank you so much. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, because as you can see, if you even train for strength or even power to increase your power output, you can still gain muscle and look good if you followed a systematic approach. Because if you see old school powerlifters, they only train specific towards SBD, and maybe that's why they are not so aesthetically pleasing. But the new wave of powerlifters that you will see, they incorporate the hypertrophy side of things as well in their training routine, and mostly what we do as well. Mostly it is strength training to some extent. Like a bulk of it is SBD, but other part is hypertrophy specific as well. And there could be some phases in the yearly mesocycle or macrocycle that you can focus morely on hypertrophy.
I would say you definitely have to focus on hypertrophy for powerlifting. I don't know about you guys in anecdotal terms, but whatever I have read and what I have not read, I have programmed, or I know all of what goes behind strength. A lot of that, when especially when you are past that intermediate age, a lot of time should be given to muscle building. Hypertrophy, just because a bigger muscle is bigger muscle has the more capacity to produce force, right? Because the more the myofibrillar, what the fuck is that? Myofibrillar hypertrophy is a contractile issue, and that is when it it becomes of bigger size. It can produce more force. But again, I can talk all night, all day about strength and hypertrophy. The correlation between them and the causation between them. But that's where we talk about the point that we can even get stronger without seeing hypertrophy. All right, just because there are a lot of neurological adaptations, there are a lot of neurological gains, especially in the new rep range, especially in a new exercise, especially in a new program, or especially in a new compound movement, new exercise, right? But again, in long terms, strength or lift, getting stronger is a huge proxy for doing things right. So yeah, man, I think I covered all of that. But it's a great point. I would like to discuss that in detail, some on some podcast, or maybe some stories of mine or some video of mine. That's strength and hypertrophy. It's not necessary to have hypertrophy. Strength honi chahiye, hypertrophy ke liye it's not required, but they are contributory. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so जैसे आपने बोला कि अभी hypertrophy you can train for powerlifting context as well, but as we program, or mostly in my experience, we keep it year all around, isolation work and focusing more on lats, glutes, your quads and hams. But the only time it is not included much or focused more on is during the taper or the peak week or the
Yes.
peaking block when
Yes,
you're
because
closer to
that's
the
where you become more specific. That's where you diminish your
yeah
fatigue. Yeah.
yeah
Fantastic, man.
because most powerlifters also have this aesthetic goals as well, so it becomes very important to, and not even from a aesthetic standpoint but also because of muscle weakness, because there is some it's not always the technique or the weakness or sticking point. It can be weakness in their muscle as well, so if you get
Yeah,
a muscle stronger, it will have a carryover to their overall squat as well.
definitely, man. As you become more advanced, a lot of the force production capabilities come from muscle hypertrophy. So that is a very big point, I would say. And yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot to talk about. If we talk about strength and hypertrophy, we can talk about it all day. But I don't think it is in scope of this podcast क्योंकि बहुत ज़्यादा technical हो जाएगा.
वो तो है, and we try to keep it as simple in simple words as
Exactly.
possible. Yeah, so
Exactly.
that everyone can
Exactly.
understand.
Exactly. And even I would like to quote that अगर hypertrophy हो भी गई है, it is not an indicator कि आपकी strength increase होगी. I mean, 80% you are
Yeah.
sure that you will increase your strength because for say you have a block of hypertrophy, you are done with that block, and immediately the next day, I mean the next starting of the block, you test your 1RM. I'm not sure that you will be able to detect that strength even if your muscle is size increased because you haven't trained that new muscle for the new adaptations. I mean, for the neurological adaptation, you haven't trained that muscle in that low depth because strength is specific, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that you will be able to detect this increase in strength in your 1RM even if you have built muscle. And there is a lot other things which go into that too, because muscle building is not myofibrillar hypertrophy. I fuck that word again and again. Myofibrillar hypertrophy. It is also about sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which is not a contractile tissue which is not capable of producing force. And even the penition angles can increase. I can talk all about that. I mean, angles increase, the orientation increase हो सकती है size की, which can in turn help in long run, which can also pack a lot of sarcoplasm. But it is not absolutely necessary that अगर आपकी hypertrophy हुई है, then you will increase strength. But mostly it is in most cases.
And I think one of the anecdotal evidence that you could take is from bodybuilders who have a bigger bench press but not as relative stronger squats and deadlifts.
Yeah, definitely. You can. Uh, are you coming on the point that there are a lot of muscles required for all those lifts?
No, because I'm saying that you can see bodybuilders doing more of bench press as compared to deadlifts or low bar
Oh
squats.
yeah. I get it. I totally get it. Yeah. And most of the bodybuilders love bench press. I don't know why it's anecdotal or not. They
Yeah.
love bench press. I don't know why. I haven't come up with a school of thought which can justify that. I think Vedant or Kaniket, have you noticed that, or do you have any reasoning for that?
I believe
Yeah,
it could be
because
a ego kind of thing.
वो तो
yeah,
स्क्वाट और
Like
डेडलिफ्ट में भी होती है यार. But
नहीं स्क्वाट में कैसे होता है people don't like to
nobody asks
train
you how
legs
much you
only.
squat or deadlifts. Yeah. How much you
It's
bench.
like how much you bench, brah?
mm,
Yeah,
Akbel.
mm,
exactly.
yeah. I would
And you will
Mostly कैसा होता
see
definitely
है?
give it a thought.
bodybuilders having big bench regardless of any good technique or even
Mm.
having an arch or even scapular retraction depression that we suggest them to have in order to avoid any shoulder injuries in future.
One more thought which I am coming up with is, if we talk about bros who are bodybuilders, right? They are
Chest and biceps.
concerned about chest muscles, right?
Upper
Because
body,
chest
which
muscles
muscles like
are,
yeah.
yeah, macho muscles. And no one fucking cares about your posterior chain. No one cares about your hamstring, dude. ठीक है? Because आपकी Instagram photo में सिर्फ इतनी आनी है photo, ठीक है? And even
Yeah.
if you open your shirt buttons, you will see your clavicular muscles, right? So that's why bench press is more preferred. But who cares about squats, man? Who cares about your legs? Who cares about your calves? Who
Yeah.
cares about your posterior chain or spinal erector muscles? Fuck you, man. I just want my chest. That's it. I just want my boobies.
Yeah, and it's pretty evident that you will see chads in parties and on beaches in that what's that thing they wear till the knees, like short shorts or something, what Garrett Pierre wears, where they
I
only train
get
their
it.
biceps and arms, and two of
Yeah.
their arms, two of their abs are visible. That's it.
Yeah. I've seen them. And a lot of people don't wear shorts to swimming pool parties. The pool parties, because obviously, you guys know the reason, right?
Yeah.
Lower में घूमते हैं. I mean, it looks so fucking odd that they are shirtless on top and they're hiding their legs and they are in lower. Fuck.
मतलब क्या हुआ जिम जाने का?
मतलब क्या हो जिम जाने का यार? The whole motive of hypertrophy is lost if you can't remove your undies. Not your undies. If you can't remove your pants. Yeah, it was a Freudian slip.
Tends to
So
happen.
PT.
I think this is a nice segue to move on to the psychological part of things. What do you
yeah,
say,
man.
Aniket? Or you might
Yeah.
get bored easily. You stupid
No, I
dumb.
want to talk more about the pain science behind everything.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely,
Uh,
man, lovely.
Rajit, as you mentioned before in your intro that you don't, suggest your clients to go towards the physiotherapist part of things. You try to assess their pain and manage if it's possible. So can you more elaborate on it?
Definitely, man. Before starting, I was actually lost in strength and hypertrophy, and I am pretty much interested in that. I will note it down that I will probably make a series on that. Okay. Or probably we can cover it in next podcast if we do that. But I'm pretty much interested in the contribution of strength and hypertrophy, how strength gains is not equal to hypertrophy, how hypertrophy gains not equal to strength. Okay. But yeah, let's talk about pain science now. I think it has become my favorite topic in these years. Yeah. So Vedant's question है कि why don't you recommend? I mean, what do you do basically when a client comes or reports discomfort or pain, right? कल की बात ही ले लेते हैं. I mean, there's an athlete of mine who is secretive and he is he competes in ICN or he has pain in his lower back. So whenever he squats, he has this tightness, not even pain. He has this discomfort, tightness in his lower back. Plus, he even has some pain in his shoulder. And ये चीज बहुत पहले हुई थी. ये चीज उसको 2-3 साल से हुई थी. And the nagging pain is still continued. All right, it is still continued till now. It is still nagging him. It is still a discomfort for him. Now, that is where I always say that manual therapy, dry cupping, needling, those electrical, whatever that is, all of that is dead because they are not able to catch up with the new pain science. They are not able to catch up with the new researches, new science. You know what? I'll tell you a very interesting story, and I think that will connect the dots. Aniket is getting bored, I think.
I'm searching for the book I was reading for the
Okay.
pain science.
Oh yeah. So it is. I mean, you can. Yeah, बहुत books हैं यार. Why zebras don't get ulcers. Then there is a lovely book by Greg Lehman. There are a lot of books. ठीक है? Even there's a book by David Mosley. It's a lovely book which everyone should read. But yeah, let's discuss that important anecdote which I would want to share. Not an anecdote, but do you guys know about Charles Poliquin?
Yeah.
Yes, he was a very famous. Yeah, he was a very famous strength coach, but he was not much respected in the industry. He just passed away, I guess, the previous year. And what he did at that point of time is वो seminars करता था या कुछ ऐसे कुछ करता था. I mean, I'm not sure क्या करता था, but he held some seminars and pain relieving seminars. All right, and what he did was, even if some people are facing some problem in their shoulders, what he did is he used to file. I mean, he used to have क्या बोलते हैं यार उसको? What do you call that? Friction paper. क्या बोलते हैं यार उसको? Whatever that is. He used to file sandpaper. He used to file a sandpaper on their legs. So what happened after that was that your CNS became less sensitive towards your shoulder, and it became more sensitive toward the point which was filing. I mean, which the part which was facing the friction, and that's where they saw a great improvement in pain for a specific time, for a temporary time, and that's where the dry cupping, the dry needling, all those manual therapies, chiropractors, all of that stuff, जो बोलते हैं यार मजा आ गया मेरे को, and they get fucked again in half an hour. So that's why I don't recommend people to go to physiotherapist unless and until it is a very good evidence-based physiotherapist who is well up to date with modern pain science. And there are very few. I can assure you that there are very few in India, especially. So yeah, what I do is basically, so I'll talk in detail about what is pain. Pain is just an experience which is different for ourselves. I mean, which is different for everyone. Aniket can have a different sense of pain. Vedant can have a different sense of pain. I can have a different sense of pain. So it is an experience which is different for everyone. We can't compare our pain with anyone. We can't compare the severity and intensity with anyone. It's just an experience. And pain is a protective mechanism set by your brain. So what happens is your brain always perceives threat. So let's talk about, I always take this example while, making my clients understand that एक candle है, उसके ऊपर flame है, you are just, आप उसके पास आ रहे हो, your brain is perceiving threat. So what it'll do is it'll produce pain in your finger as a protective mechanism, and you will bounce your finger back. So that is the mechanism of pain. Now, a tricky part is when you are very much, habitual of going near the flame. और आप क्या करते हो? आप बचपन में ये भी करते थे कि आप flame से खेलते हो, right? You played with the flame, and that's where your mind is not sensing any kind of danger because it has adapted to that pain. It has adapted to that pain. It is adapted to that threat. So it is not sensing any kind of danger. So that is why it is not producing any pain. But अगर आप बहुत नीचे जाओगे, वो जो नया intensity का threat, वो intensity ज़्यादा है threat की, तो तब वो pain produce करेगा. And even I also take one more analogy over here that even if you were kids and you were when you were kids, you used to be super rude to your dogs and you used to hit them, right? And अगर वो ही dog रोज एक पत्थर खाता है तो उसको थोड़े दिन के बाद उससे डर नहीं लगेगा, वो उस पेन से या वो उससे सेंसिटाइज हो, मतलब डिसेंसिटाइज हो जाएगा, मतलब उसे लगेगा कि ये जो थ्रेशोल्ड है, this is not a threat for me, and that's why the brain won't produce pain. The same happens with us too. What we do is, what happens mostly, I would say in 90% of the cases is, obviously we have to experiment, we have to assess that biomechanically kuch kharab to nahi hai. The form is right. He or she is not placing a lot of stress in the end ranges of the motion. Biomechanically efficient exercise. And again, proper form or bad form doesn't equal to pain. Bad form doesn't equal to injury. Injury only happens when you are not able to sustain a lot of load. The tissue is not able to sustain a lot of load. It passes the load tolerance. Tabhi injury hoti hai. Bad form is not able to injury, especially in short term. So what happens is people become too adamant about proper form hi karni hai. That's where their brain becomes too sensitized with bad form. तो उनको लगता है कि एक बार भी अगर मैंने deadlift में back round हुई, fuck, now I'm going to get injured. That is where nocebo effect comes into picture. That is where placebo effect also comes into picture. And if we come back to the examples which I was taking about shoulder pain and back pain, what has happened most of the times is, or what happens most of the time is, कि that person is very much negative about that region. He develops a nocebo effect over there. उसको लगता है कि मैं कुछ भी करूँगा, कोई भी exercise करूँगा तो मेरे को pain होगा वहाँ पे. He's expecting pain. तो placebo होता है basically. And he has a very negative experience about negative expectation about that particular exercise. Now, another thing what happens is our brain is sensitized just because it is perceiving threat even when there is no threat. So our brain is sensitized. तो जब भी आप स्क्वाट्स करोगे तब आपको हल्के सा स्टिफनेस होगा. तो क्या होता है कि ब्रेन बहुत ज्यादा सेंसिटाइज हो चुका है, एंड आवर मोटिव इज टू डिसेंसिटाइज आवर ब्रेन धीरे धीरे बाय एक्सपोजिंग टू लोड ग्रेजुअली and increasing the confidence. So that is what we do. Basically, if there is a pain in squat, what we do is we don't have to, shrug the squat off. Squats हम तब भी करेंगे, but हम probably we will change some modalities. We will change the load. We will see if the load, the decrease in load makes you discomfort free. We can change the range of motion. We can change the tempo. We can change the grip. We can change, our squat width. A lot of these things. ठीक है? अगर इससे कुछ नहीं हुआ, then we will jump on to another modalities. Then we can think about front squats where you are more upright. अगर वहाँ पे भी pain हो रहा है, then we can think about hack squats. अगर वहाँ पे भी pain हो रहा है, or probably goblet squats. और वहाँ पे भी pain हो रहा है, then we can think about box squats. अगर वहाँ भी pain हो रहा है, then we can think about leg presses, hack squats. And even that is paining, we can then go to leg extensions and then probably strengthen our tissues and then come back to squats. That is where the simple funda is that we have to desensitize our brain with time, with exposing to load and increase the confidence. That's mostly it. That is the concept behind pain science. There is a lot of detail. Obviously, it's not that simple, but yeah, this is the basis.
Yeah, I believe the point that you mentioned about nocebo, that was pretty fantastic, because mostly the pain is in their mind as opposed to pain being in real life. Because sometimes they might think that they are feeling some pain when in reality there is nothing.
That's where the biopsychosocial model comes into picture, man. I mean, biopsychosocial model is something which was used in medical history to diagnose a disease or for treatment of a disease. But it is also used in fitness and pain science too, because there is not just biological tissue damage या फिर ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Again, I would like to highlight a very important point is tissue damage is not equal to pain. It is not necessary that अगर tissue damage होगा तो आपको pain होगा ही होगा. So what people, again, if you talk about nocebo effect, अगर हमें pain हो रहा है यहाँ पे तो लोग क्या सोचते हैं कि यार shit मेरे rotator cuff में कुछ ना कुछ tear है, यहाँ पे कुछ ना कुछ टिश्यू डैमेज है या फिर कनेक्टिव टिश्यू में कुछ ना कुछ खराबी है. एंड दैट खराबी इज नोसिबो. मतलब उससे एक्सपेक्टेशन अपनी बेसिस सेट हो जाती है कि यार अब तो पेन होगा ही होगा. एंड व्हाट दे डू इज दे बेसिकली स्टार्ट एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग विद दिस. यार अब देखते हैं पेन हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा, कुछ मैं आज मैं कुछ अच्छा करता हूँ, आज मैं कुछ नई एक्सरसाइज करता हूँ, अब देखता हूँ पेन हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा. दैट टचिंग और अगेन ड्राई नीडलिंग, ऑल ऑफ दैट स्टफ, इट एक्चुअली सेंसिटाइज योर ब्रेन अगेन. सो यू हैव टू लीव इट अगेन. अगेन साइकोसोशल उसकी बात करें तो साइकोलॉजिकल आपकी स्ट्रेस बहुत ही कम होना, स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट होना चाहिए. फिर वी टॉक अबाउट स्लीप अच्छी होनी चाहिए. न्यूट्रिशन, इट शुड बी ऑन पॉइंट. देयर कुड बी अ लॉट ऑफ डेफिशिएंसीज व्हिच वी कैन ऑलवेज इंप्रूव. विटामिन डी, योर कैल्शियम, योर जिंक, मैग्नीशियम. देन वी हैव अ लॉट ऑफ एक्सीलेंट सप्लीमेंटेशन, curcumin, BCM 95, boswellia, hath jod. We have chondroitin and chondroitin भी इतना ज़्यादा नहीं है. Then we have MSM, all of glucosamine, all of these things are excellent. And again, omega-3s, very important. All of this, even vitamin C can help, creatine can help too. All of these things play a very important role. And the game changer is type 2 collagen. I think it is it is an excellent supplementation. All of these things, in combination of all of these things, can help a lot. And again, your social factors too. So all these things can help a lot in managing pain, especially the lower back pain. It is very complex.
Yeah, and one thing that you mentioned just now, that we keep going back to the pain site, constantly touching it and seeing if it hurts again and again. It's similar to the thing that we used to do when we were kids. Like अगर हमारा कोई दांत गिर जाता था, so we used to take our tongue there again and again, just to feel the missing teeth.
Right. We did that. I mean, I did that, I guess.
Everyone did that because
I think everyone did that.
वो दिमाग में होता है यार, अब दुख रहा है पर ओवर अ टाइम पीरियड वो पेन निकल जाता है, हम लोग डिसेंसिटाइज हो जाते हैं.
Yeah, I felt my tongue with myself in the past, but now I don't feel my tongue with myself.
Nice. That's very cunning of you.
Yeah, people call it sarcasm, but pata nahi.
I wanted to say cunnilingus, but that
cunnilingus is better, man. It's really good. I mean, I don't know. It's really good. It's lockdown time, right? Fuck, dude. Are there a lot of females watching your podcast too?
I don't know.
Is there a way that you can block them by seeing this podcast?
There should be a button for this anti-feminist.
Fuck. No, dude. It's not about feminism. I support feminism. I mean, up to a point.
Yeah, of course.
I support equality. That's it. Nothing more.
Yes. Feminism, अबे नहीं बात करते इसके बारे में यार. I'll get a lot of bashing.
बहुत लोग मारेंगे हम लोग, रहने दो.
But I'm all in for equality. I'm all in for uplifting them. But feminism has lost its charm now. I mean, it's अब वो नहीं रहा है. It's not about equality now. It's about pushing men down. And
Oppress-
they also, I mean, obviously they're not biological equal, right? I mean, they have some different temperaments. They have different biological weaknesses. I would say weaknesses, not roughly speaking, but evolutionary they also have to understand that कुछ ना कुछ roles होते हैं males and females can they we have to understand that too.
I think it was the evolutionary basis on which the male became the house provider or the hunter in medieval times, and that has carried over to this era as well, being the
Yeah.
forefront earner of the house and in companies having bigger jobs. It's not like they are discriminating between men and women and prioritizing more towards men, but there's an advantage towards being a man and excelling at a job than compared to being a woman.
Definitely. I mean, not even अभी जैसे यार नहीं बात करते इसके बारे में. मैं बहुत कुछ बोल सकता हूँ इसके बारे में, नहीं करते बात. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing to have a child. I mean, for women, obviously, they should have a child. That's, I mean, they are provided with that opportunity, or they are graced with that opportunity. I think it's a big thing to have. It's a responsibility. It's a meaning of their life. I would say it's a big meaning to their life. Guys sometimes get lost. कि यार क्या meaning है? We don't have any meaning, right? I mean, obviously, if we find a meaning, we can't. But women, on the other hand, they definitely have a set meaning for their life, a big meaning, which is obviously, which you can see, which you can feel.
Yes.
There was a philosopher or writer, I'm not sure, his name was Kierkegaard. So he had this quote where he said, marry or don't marry, have a kid or don't have a kid, you will regret both.
Yeah. और
लड्डू
उसी
खाता ही है ना.
को और उसी को आजकल अंकल्स व्हाट्सएप पे ये वाला मैसेज भेजते हैं कि शादी करो या ना करो, दोनों में ही दुख है, लड्डू खाओ या ना, whatever the fuck that is.
वो भाई.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what
About experience.
I mean, there was a manager of mine जो मेरे को ये सब भेजता था मेरे जॉब में मैसेज में. कहा भाई मुझे नहीं करना है ये सब, मतलब मुझे मत भेजो ये सब.
ब्लॉक कर
So
दो.
I know नहीं, आप मैनेजर को ब्लॉक नहीं कर सकते आप.
साइलेंट करते ना, मैं करता बहुत लोग को साइलेंट. They don't disturb me anymore.
Yeah, but when there's a guy who pays you, I mean,
बहुत लोग मैसेज करते हैं ना निखिल.
बहुत पकाते यार. मतलब इन जनरल ठीक है यार, मतलब बहुत बार ऐसे पकाओ मैसेज करते हैं ना, तो रिप्लाई करने का मूड भी नहीं होता.
Hi, you up? रात को 3 बजे. Hi, you up, Aniket? I want to see you squat.
You can go to my Insta page.
No, I want to see you squat live right now at 3 a.m.
अभी मैं सो रहा हूँ यार.
Fuck. No, you can also sleep, but that guy can squat on you. Fuck, dude.
So रचित, हम लोग को पास एक और पॉइंट था, मतलब स्लीप कितना फैक्टर प्ले करता है in your hypertrophy and strength level.
Yeah, I would say just before thinking about the quality of training, just before thinking about the volume, just before thinking about the sets, just before thinking about the optimal caffeine dosage, just before thinking about any kind of supplementation, just before figuring out the best protein source for you or best training methodology for you, focus on your fucking sleep. I would stress a lot on that, and I have also made a video on that too on YouTube. I know I'm struggling with that too. I won't be hiding that, but it is very important to have a full 8 to 9 hours of sleep regularly. on top of that, you would see huge benefits in hunger reduction, in craving reduction, and obviously it will play a very important role in your body comp. Apart from that, I would say it directly impacts the body comp, just because even if you sleep less, your fat loss is, you experience less fat loss, and this has also been proved in studies. Then your quality of training decreases a lot. You can get injured. As I told you, a biopsychosocial model of pain. You know what happened with me when I was totally stressed on some days, or when I had very less sleep? My pain, my discomfort increased at that point of time. So sleep is a very, very important role, role. And as Matthew Walker says, it is probably the best drug, the best legal drug which we are not using.
Also
And-
cannabis.
Sorry?
Cannabis.
For the cannabis, yeah. I am totally against
Or even
cannabis.
psilocybin.
So I am totally against drugs, guys.
Not even creatine.
What you I mean the drugs that you consume from pharmacy, or that the doctors prescribe us, they
I mean,
are
the
chemical drugs as
medicinal,
well,
the
not even found
medicinal,
naturally in
I mean-
in our system or even in the universe.
it's the confirmation bias saying that, Vedant. It's not you saying,
Yeah.
it's the confirmation bias saying.
Yeah.
I
I
like
know.
beer, and that's
I
why
don't
I'll
know, man.
support. I'll cherry
I
pick
don't
the
know,
studies
man.
which
The
support
real,
beer.
Save water, drink beer. अपना motto है.
that's our motto. No, man, I fucking hate alcohol.
That's your bias talking again.
Yeah, again, that's your bias talking. I love beer, and I'll
It's not
cherry
a
pick.
bias.
I'll
It's
cherry
just a
pick the
preference,
studies which
and
support
it's just
beer.
my idea. I mean, I believe you can because I believe they have started using psilocybin mushrooms or other psychedelics that in the mental health field as well. I think it was in Colorado or something.
Yeah, dude. I mean, yes. If you talk about ayahuasca, if you talk about all of that stuff, I would definitely want to do that under under shamans or someone's,
Yeah.
guidance, because that
Guidance.
plays a very important role in your self-awareness process. If I get a chance to, but it's a very frightening experience. It's a very, very frightening experience,
Yeah.
and I won't
Also,
recommend anyone
it's
to do
not
that.
an addictive thing. It's not like you will do it again and again. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because people become, or overcome their anxiety and depression even while microdosing with mushrooms.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like you have to be partying with magic mushrooms 24/7. You can just microdose like 10 mg or 30 mg, if I'm not wrong, and just you can go on and do your entire life process as well, daily activities.
Yeah, actually, researches in terms of pharmacotherapy and medicinal plants like psychedelics, it is ongoing. And I think we'll be having some good data where even in coming years, Okay, sorry, dude, we'll have to end the podcast. I'm having a very important call.
No issue.
ठीक है? तो
चलो guys. यहाँ पे podcast end करना पड़ेगा. कोई issue नहीं है.
अरे
Next
यार,
time
this is
रचित को लेके
I
आएंगे
gave
फिर
them a
से.
time of 8:15, but yeah,
Okay.
I'll be happy. I'll be happy to come back. It was a great conversation with you guys. It's my absolute pleasure. And yeah, man, you are doing great work. All thumbs up.
Thank you.
And
Stay
thank you
strong.
for coming,
super
Rachit.
strong.
Got to learn a lot from you.
Thank you, man. I learned a lot from you guys too. Thank you, Vedant. Thank you, Aniket, for your time. Bye bye. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, man. Take care. ये देखिए से हाथ हिला रहे
Peace out.
हैं. क्या
Peace
नहीं
out. Bye.